from Channels Television. Reported tonight.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, former President Olusegun Obasanjo comes down hard on the federal government, calls the National Assembly corrupt. The President undergoes screening process at the People's Democratic Party Secretariat in Abuja ahead of the party's presidential primaries. House of Representatives committee members adjourned sitting over Inspector General of Police alleged refusal to properly acknowledge Speaker Aminu Tambuwal. And family of a black teenager shot dead by a policeman said they are pained by the grand jury's decision.
On business news tonight, it's not all praise as economists and lawmakers worry about the impact of the CBN's monetary decision on businesses.
And on sports news tonight, the quest for a place in the second round continues tonight in the UEFA Champions League Game 5.
The former president, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, has again lashed out at the president, that's Goodluck Jonathan, saying Nigeria's democracy remains at risk due to what he calls the actions of the present administration. At a book launch in honor of the pioneer chairman of the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, Mustafa Akombi in Abuja, Chief Obasanjo asked the president to stop what he describes as verbal violence, which according to him may not physically hurt, but has ways of leading to physical violence. The former president also spoke at length on the president's alleged poor handling of the Boko Haram insurgency, corruption, the economy, and youth empowerment. He also describes the National Assembly as corrupt, saying that the constituency project is a conduit pipe. Our correspondent Gloria Umezuke reports.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo was among other high-profile guests, including former Chief Justices of the Federation, Sultan of Sokoto, Oba of Lagos, and a host of others at the presentation of an autobiography of Justice Mustafa Akombi. But typical of the elder statesman, he dwelt on the state of the nation. He criticized the government and the National Assembly as corrupt.
The old saying goes that fish starts to rot from the head. If the head is rotten, there's nothing left of the body. The legislature, which shrouded its corruption in the opaque nature of its budget, have been encouraged through direct payment of money to the legislature to cover up wrongs done by the executive, thereby making the legislature fail in its oversight responsibility. They indulge in extorting money from departments, contractors, and ministries in two ways on the so-called oversight responsibility.
The former president did not stop there. He also spoke at length on the president's handling of the economy and youth unemployment. He also advised the federal government to tackle the Boko Haram crisis using less force but concentrate on education in the northeast.
Let me make bold to say that if we continue to apply force alone, since Boko Haram has become an industry within the government circle and within the Boko Haram itself, it may be suppressed for a while, but it will not be eliminated.
The growing insecurity, impunity, and inequality have fueled youth restiveness in their state of joblessness, even in the midst of apparent plenty.
The economy is in the doldrums, if not in reverse. The often quoted GDP growth neither reflects on the living condition of most of our people, nor on most of the indigenous industries.
There can be real development without peace. And that is why for him, ensuring peace and stability is a major priority. Look, there are a lot of projects in the north. Many of those projects which were, in progress, the Boko Haram people, they targeted those projects. The terrorists do not want development.
They say, without don't pass Gary. The problems are enormous and many. But with dedication, prayers, and cooperation of all Nigeria, inshallah, we will overcome it.
The former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, has spoken widely about the security crisis, top of which is the need to bridge that disconnect between development and security, which is quintessential to maintaining a sense of stability in the country. Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Well, the president does not seem prepared to join issues with his predecessor. Instead, he kept to date with the national leadership of the PDP for a screening exercise ahead of the party's primaries. President Jonathan and the son of Nigeria's former Prime Minister, the late Tafawa Balewa, were the only aspirants for the PDP presidential ticket, and that was before the latter dropped his presidential ambition. The party leadership had announced the president as its sole candidate in the 2015 presidential race, saying the ticket was not open to contest. Now, this decision was later rescinded, and other interested members were asked to obtain the nomination and expression of interest forms. The result of today's screening is expected to be announced much later by the committee. Well, as we're reporting right now, the son of the former Prime Minister of Nigeria, that's Abdul Jalil Tafawa Balewa, has dropped his presidential ambition. Mr. Jalil withdrew from the race after undergoing screening by the party screening committee in Abuja. He refused to entertain questions from journalists after announcing the withdrawal. But the chairman of the screening committee, Amadu Ali, said Mr. Tafawa Balewa dropped his ambition, even though he was qualified to contest.
Two candidates showed up for screening. The first is President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, GCFR, and the second is Dr. Jalil Tafawa Balewa. Both of them are eminently qualified to be President of Nigeria. After over 90 minutes grilling of the second candidate, the aspirant, Dr. Jalil Tafawa Balewa, he came to the conclusion that he would like to withdraw from the race at this stage.
It has been a grueling screening experience. I have decided to withdraw my aspiration for now, for the strength and well-being of the party. I hope to see you all at some other time. I am a strong PDP member. I am willing, able, and will continue to be a strong member of the PDP. I'm ready to do whatever it is that comes my way.
The Senate has set up an ad hoc committee to investigate what they call the invasion of the National Assembly by the Nigeria police last Thursday. Federal lawmakers in the Senate today condemned the attack, saying the police compromised the sanctity and integrity of Parliament. Our correspondent Linda Akigbe reports.
It's been 6 days since the police stormed the National Assembly and fired tear gas at federal lawmakers and workers in the National Assembly. When the pictures and visuals of a showdown between the police and lawmakers hits the airwaves, the response from the public is that of shock, disbelief, anger, and even amusement. Well, the Senate is definitely not amused. The majority of lawmakers condemned what they termed a breach of security, privilege, and sanctity of the National Assembly.
What happened last week at the National Assembly is a coup attempt by the Nigerian police against the Parliament.
Mr. President, is this not a crime? What happened on the 20th of November 20, is this not a crime to the legislative of government? Is it not a crime to the legislature? Is it not a crime to Nigerians?
that act was unconstitutional, it was criminal, it was illegal, it was deliberate, it was calculated.
This federal lawmaker wants the Senate not to jump into conclusions before an investigation is conducted.
If the police on Thursday last week had come out to say that their action was not to prevent any member of the National Assembly, but their action was to prevent hoodlums from coming to invade the precincts of the National Assembly, I think that what we need to do, is to investigate.
However, for some lawmakers, last Thursday's impasse presents an opportunity to enact some fundamental laws.
At this time of terrorism, insurgency, and where other security agencies are even alleged to have some infiltrations, Mr. President, it is wise for the legislature, not just the National Assembly, sir. I'm not talking of the National Assembly alone. The legislature all over Nigeria, including Ekiti, Rivers, and all of them, to be allowed by law to have and maintain armed security sergeants at arms office, so that they can protect the legislature and the legislative process and proceedings.
At the end of the debate, the Senate set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the security breach in the National Assembly last Thursday. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, South Africa court takes appeal on convicted leader of the movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta men. That's in a moment. Do join us again.